of thrills, a world of drama, of capes and tights, a world where death is a revolving door. Welcome to the Geek Matrix.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to
Hello,
the Geek
hello.
Matrix show episode 225. My
Wow,
God, it's going on a long time.
seriously.
Well, congratulations to Brandon for being able to stick it out with me for so long, and our
My
absent,
pleasure.
as well as our absent member Rob, who is off doing work stuff, who obviously has
Later.
his priorities messed up if he's ignoring comic books to get a paycheck.
What a waste of time.
Waste of time, I'm telling you. That said, we have a load of comic books to get into today. Uh, man, the Eclipso's been eclipsed. The question needs answers, and TikTok Titans. We have Action Comics 1076, Batman Superman World's Finest number 33, Titans. Uh,
17?
sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Titans 17. I forgot to write the number down. Catwoman 70, and the question all along the Watchtower number 1. Also have some honorable mentions that I will be getting to here after I break some unfortunate news. Returning after 20 years to DC after leaving, he had written Scooby Doo, Looney Tunes,
Well, a
Powerpuff Girls.
freelancer. I
Yeah.
believe he was a freelancer at the time.
Okay. Well, probably not a whole lot of heavy hitting books, with the exception of Arkham Asylum and Living Hell, and
Oh
maybe
my god,
his
I forgot
follow up
about
for
that.
JLA Classified. Everything else has
And you
been
know what's
kind of
crazy?
puffy.
Guess who did the art on that Arkham book?
Who?
Ryan Sook.
No
What a weird
shit.
combination. Yeah.
Right. Wow, Ryan Suck. I wonder
I
if
was like,
that's way back when I really got into him.
that's
Is it?
like 2005, so maybe, I don't know.
That sounds about right. It's been a long time that I've been a Sook fan. But if you haven't figured it out now, Dan Slott is coming to DC. It started off as a rumor, but thanks to those working at Thought Bubble this week, it's been confirmed. He not only is stepping away from Marvel exclusivity to work on DC Comics, and it's rumored that he'll be uh, taking taking part in the Superman Superstars initiative. He's also got a contract carved out with Titan Comics for a Doctor Who series. So he's definitely moving away from Marvel and into all kinds of places I never thought I would see Dan Slott.
Well, the disclaimer, all this stuff still is not officially confirmed. Like, this is just chatter at Thought Bubble. A lot of
Yes.
this is coming from, actually, I think all of this is coming from Bleeding Cool. There's been no official word from DC. So I imagine that will be a big official announcement, if slash when it comes. But, uh, but yeah, no, I mean, it's certainly a shock, not one that I'm overly excited about, but yeah.
Nope. No, neither am I. Not excited really at all. If I'm not mistaken, granted, I am really rusty on my Marvel history. Dan Slott is one of the few creators that still writes with the Marvel method, if I'm correct, where he basically outlines a plot, and then the
Uh,
art and the letterer are the ones who
there,
create
yeah, there
the.
are a couple of other people who still follow that format. To my memory, Scott Snyder will work from that format. John Hickman's work from that format. So it's not uncommon, but he's definitely one of the ones that I guess has stayed true to that model pretty much throughout his entire career, which is a little uncommon because usually people will go from full script to looser scripts, a la the Marvel method or just plot based storytelling. if that's what you're more comfortable doing at that point. But generally, people who are just starting out will do full scripts. And then occasionally you'll have people who, they'll do it's like a pseudo full script where they'll plot everything out, but they won't dialogue it until the art comes in, and then it's like, okay, I can kind of make the dialogue flow a little bit better. Because I think it's what Hickman was doing with East of West. I remember there's a podcast where he was talking about working with Nick Dragotta on certain issues, and like when the
Plotting
art
it
would come
out,
in,
the art comes back,
yeah,
and
the
then
art
he
would come
writes
in,
the
and
dialogue. Yeah.
well, sometimes he would write the dialogue, and sometimes the dialogue would be written, and he would rewrite it when he saw what the art actually looked like, because it felt like it needed to change. So
Well, that's cool. I
mm,
would hate because without a doubt, um, the writer is who often gets the most credit. 99% of the time when it comes to a book, and for me, if somebody is if that book is really the joined effort of the writer, the artist, and the letterer, then maybe the book shouldn't be credited with written by, but more plotted by or
well,
scripted by, which
that
we have
that's
seen in
yeah, that
comics.
that that usually does happen. I mean, most famous example I can think of is the new Teen Titans, which basically started as um, Marv and George basically working as Marv on story, George Perez on art, and then gradually the two kind of their working relationship became closer, and eventually morphed into they were co-plotting issues, obviously because George is doing layouts and pencils and everything, so it made sense for him to be more active in the story and have more input there. But to the end, like the writer was still reliably, in this case, Marv Wolfman was still going to be actually like scripting all the dialogue and everything. So that's not uncommon. I think, again, it depends on the working relationship, because sometimes, and I could be wrong on this, but from what I've heard from interviews, sometimes you're writing a book, say, and you write out a script, and you don't even meet the artist for it. It's just like, we're just gonna bang out an issue, like let's say it's a tie-in or something, and the issue is just sent to the artist. Maybe there's a little bit of back and forth, but for the most part, it's pretty independent. And in that case, like, is it really fair to say it's a co-plotted issue between writer and artist? Not really, because it is mostly like you gave you pretty clear instructions about panel layout and pacing and
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
So there's less of a collaboration there. So it's not. I wouldn't really call that a case of them working together, and you could call it
Yeah.
a
No. Not at
co-plotting
all.
credit. But in cases where the artist and the writer are working together like closely and they're having frequent conversations, like, yeah, it's fair to say that the input is on the plot, at least, is from both parties.
That's how I feel about it.
Mhm.
I'm glad the situation is better than I thought it
Yeah.
was. But other than Dan Slott, about the only other thing that I've got is some books that are coming out this week or have came out this week in trade paperback form. Justice League of America, the Bridge Between Earths hit, volume 2 of the Green Lantern Corps by Tomasi and Gleason. Uh, that one came out as well. It's
Mhm.
$150, man. I know Rob's got to be saving up for that one.
Yeah, it'll probably be discounted in a few months though, so I'm sure
Fingers
he'll be
crossed.
good. Yeah.
We've got the hardcover for Absolute Justice ringing in at 125. Elseworld Superman Volume 2 is been released in trade paperback. And then something I did not expect to see, but for $75 from Jeremy Aaron, we have the omnibus for Scalped. And I have
Jeremy
not,
Aaron?
yeah,
Jason Aaron, I think
or
you mean.
Jason Aaron, damn it.
Yeah. You combined Jeremy Adams and Jason Aaron.
I sure did.
Nice.
But yeah, the Sculpt omnibus, which I have not had the pleasure of reading yet, but if it's from Jeremy Aaron, it's not guaranteed to be an all-star
Jason
comic.
Aaron.
Damn it, I did it again.
You did it
Jason
twice.
Aaron. All right, he's just Aaron now. if it's from Aaron, it's definitely worth a fair shot at giving it a chance for reading because I do like most of what he's
You
done.
should really read The Other Side. It's probably I've read a few creator-owned books from Jason Aaron. Weirdly enough, his most famous one is the only one I haven't read, but I have the first 2 volumes of Scalped sitting on my shelf, which I will get to at one point. But The Other Side, which I was able to get signed, thankfully, that was like a dream
Nice.
come true. Is probably that's like top 20 comics for me. It's just such a great read. Great
Oh
art from
wow,
Cameron
really?
Stewart. It's like imagine a war horror story, which is basically the premise of it, where you have it's told from the perspective of 2 people during the Vietnam War. One is an American soldier, one is a Vietnamese soldier, and they're basically making their way in joining the army and getting into the conflict, but they're both kind of haunted by nightmares, particularly the American soldier. I'm forgetting his name. It's like Everett something. Um, and basically, he's just like haunted by like visions of dead soldiers and like mutilated corpses and everything. And it's really dark, but it's very entertaining. It's very gritty, and it's a lot of maybe this reveals my weird sadistic taste, but it is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Hey,
And then
horror movies
Southern,
can be fun.
yeah, and then Southern Bastards is like close second for me. That's another creator-owned book he did at Image that is just phenomenal, and it's sad that it will probably never come back.
Doesn't mean it won't come out in a trade though.
Well, I mean, yeah, the whole series has been collected in
Oh,
hardcover,
yeah.
I think. So it's only 20 issues, but I was hoping that they might be able to do like one final arc, but seems like probably not the case.
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's wait. But yeah, you're
Yeah,
probably right. Probably not happening. But those are some titles that I definitely need to get underneath my belt.
yeah.
Um,
And speaking
speaking of,
of
go ahead.
Image, sorry. I have like 2 bits of news. One is just personal, and one is comic related. But on the comic side, I have one recommendation for this week. I got to read it a little early, so this week was really just picking up the issue. But I got to read The Rockefellers by Peter Tomasi and Francis Manipul, book from Image, debut of a brand new universe. If you've been following like all the Ghost Machine stuff, this is the start of the Family Odysseys universe, which it makes it sound like it's all interconnected, but they're really standalone stories that share basically an imprint. And this one's really great. It's just like family from the 25th century has to flee to the past and blend in as though they're from the 21st century. Great setup. And like, I don't know, if there's one thing like Tomasi's known for me at least, it's character interactions, but definitely really likes to focus on like family dynamics or close dynamics. You see that in like pretty much everything he's done at DC, and maybe a little less so in the creator owned side of things. But this one felt really like right up his alley, and the art from Francis Manipul was just great. So, like, solid start for me. I just recommend to anyone, even if you're not as familiar with the creators. It's just like a solid first issue and worth checking out. And apparently, it's sold out already, which is I was not expecting that, but that's
Wow.
awesome. I hope it does really well. I like this series a lot.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm. Sounds like I'm gonna have to wait till the second printing.
Mm.
But
Well, I mean,
I mean,
you can
with a
always,
team like that, you go in expecting it to be really good.
yeah,
So I'm glad to
yeah.
hear Rockefellers is.
I definitely had like expectations that it was gonna be pretty solid. I remember reading there's like a preview story in the Ghost Machine one shot they put out back in January, I think it was. And like it was good, but I was like, yeah, this is neat, but I wasn't really blown away or anything. But actually having like the full issue, I could see that there's a lot more potential in it. So I think that just goes to show that sometimes a preview isn't the full story. Like you really need more content before you can make an opinion. I think anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why I rarely give number one issues a really high score.
Yeah.
um, what else? Oh,
Uh,
we've got some. Or wait, did you have one more piece of news?
oh no, it was just personal news. My
Yeah.
my first paycheck came, and so gradually the first thing I used it on was to buy a mini amp, which just showed up today. It's like all I could think about. So I finally got a proper guitar amp. So I've been messing around with that for like the past 2 hours.
Hell yeah, what'd you
So
get?
if there are moments where I'm like I drop out or it feels like I'm not paying attention, it's because like I literally have the guitar in my lap, and I don't want to put it down until I'm like I physically can play no more.
I
Um,
can't blame you there. What
yeah,
kind
but
of amp did you pick up?
it's just a Lakato mini amp, which I'd never heard of. I got it from Amazon. It was like $30 maybe. And the
Oh
beauty
wow.
of it is like it's like no bigger than like a small portable speaker or something, like one of those Beats pills.
Oh wow.
Um, but for a mini speaker, like it's got a lot of body. And the beauty is it has a button that lets you flip between a clean tone and like an overdrive in
Distorted?
like a
Right on.
second. Yeah, it's distorted, and like even when you put like the or press the overdrive button, like it has a pretty distorted tone even without touching the gain at all, which is pretty crazy. Because then once I like actually tried to mess with it a little bit more and turn up the gain and tone, like it just gets crazy distorted. So I was surprised that like this small little amp could have that much overdrive at just the click of a button. So for
Hell
anyone
yeah.
looking for like a mini practice amp, which is basically what this is, just because like I didn't want to get like a big, you know, $80 amp that was going to piss my neighbors off.
Right.
But if you're looking for like a small one that you can just put on like a desk or something and practice, like this is it. I think it doesn't have a ton of sustain, but it is. I mean, for the price point, I think it's pretty good.
Hell yeah. That's I man, if I would have saw an amp at that price, I
Yeah.
probably would have walked right by it thinking
Oh man.
bullshit. But I'm glad to hear that it's a good product, man.
Yeah, I got a
What was the brand again?
Lekato, Lekato. I'll send you a picture of it, but yeah, I was impressed. Like I looked up a ton of videos and I was like, well, I mean, it looks good for the most part, but I won't know until I actually use it. But then I opened
Right.
it up like like a couple hours ago, and I was like, oh yes, yes, they didn't lie, it works.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, so I was pretty pleased.
Right on, right on. Before I move on to what the honorable mentions, I want to ask you a question here.
What's up?
The one of the promo images for Justice League Unlimited.
Uh,
It's the one that has Superman at the forefront with Cass right next to him. Are you familiar with that one?
I no, I don't think so.
Here, let me grab it real quick. It's from Fico Ocio,
Okay.
and I just want you to take a look at this real quick. Gonna gonna drop it into our. Actually, I'll just go ahead and pop it up on here.
See.
You see that?
Uh, yeah. Wow.
There are some surprises there for me.
Yeah. Most surprising is what looks to be Trinity down there, which I
Yep,
would not expect. I mean,
that does surprise me, but it's to the right of Trinity that has me scratching my head.
well, that looks like, I mean, maybe Deadshot, which is
That
really
is
weird.
Deadshot.
Yeah, and then to the like little, I mean, also to the right of Trinity, maybe to the left of Deadshot, looks like the new costumes they designed for that might be Ryan Choi. The
Yeah,
new Atom costume. So,
yep. And then
um,
there's a challenger underneath them. I was just, I see hero, 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 kind of a hero. And
but
then
I'm
Deadshot.
like, Well, Deadshot, but I'm also like Jason Todd because
right?
the thing that kind of makes my head spin. That's why I hadn't seen this before, so I'm like, what the fuck? Is obviously Batman has kind of, for the most part, forgiven Jason for all the stuff that he did in the early days as Red Hood. It's still
Hmm.
complicated, but they've worked through it a few times. But that's just Batman. Like, I don't know. How do the rest of the leaguers feel about working alongside the quote unquote infamous Red Hood? They probably don't know as much about his reformed history as Batman does.
Probably not, but Cass is there to
Yeah,
kick anybody's ass that gives him too much guff.
I guess so. But I'm like, I don't know. If I was, I mean, I know Supergirl and him have a past according to Red Hood and the Outlaws, and
Right.
I mean, maybe a couple of the Leaguers who have worked alongside the Bat family. But if I'm like, Zatanna or Metamorpho or Jade, who like only just re-entered this reality, especially someone like Jade, who probably most of her memories are coming from the pre-Flashpoint era, which is
Hmm.
like when Jason was at his most evil.
You're
So if
right.
I was working alongside him, I'd be like, I don't fucking trust this guy. What the hell?
I don't trust this guy at
Like,
all.
what? Roy told me, when we were on the Outsiders together, so we're still friends, but Roy told me that, like, this guy is kind of a snake. And I guess now they're friends, but I don't trust him.
No, and I
So,
don't
yeah,
blame you.
maybe that'll lead to some amusing character interactions. But yeah, that's
Hopefully it
cool.
will. Yeah, the two big things there that I'm really curious about is the presence of Deadshot
Mm.
and why in the hell is Trinity here plus all grown up?
Yeah, that's a bit strange. It could be a
Yeah.
time travel thing. I don't know, but
Mm, maybe. I guess we'll find out.
mm,
But that was what I wanted to that was what I wanted to ask you about before we got into our honorable mentions.
nice.
I lost my picture. Poof. There we go. All right. And now for the honorable mentions.
All right.
Up up front, I guess the McFarlane Toys variant theme is going to continue. This week we've got one for World's Finest 33, Action Comics 1076, and Titan 17. Um, there's a buttload of good variants this week, but my favorite is undoubtedly Catwoman 70 by Frank Cho, and then followed very closely by all of the Watchtower variants from Jorge Fornes, Lucio Perillo, and Danny Earls. Those are awesome,
Nice, nice.
especially that Frank Cho. Oh man, that dude is he can draw anything. Um, all right, and then for the issues, the honorable ones, anyways, we have Batman and Robin Year One, Number Two. It's really good, 100% Sam in the art. The dialogue is great, and it's a really good story. I got to give it an 8.25 out of 10.
And speaking of like I know we just had this conversation, but like the whole, artists are super involved in like making the issue and all that stuff, and they should be credited as co-plotters. If you look at the credits for this issue, that's exactly what happened. Like Samney and Wade are credited as co-plotters, presumably because Samney has so much input and is doing all the layouts and everything that he very much is a co-plotter with this, while Mark Wade's still doing the dialogue. So this issue is like perfect example of that, in addition to being a great issue.
Fantastic. As it should be, right? All right. What else? Oh, Batman Full Moon number 2. Fantastic. Utterly fantastic. Batman and Zatanna together are kick ass. And if anyone is telling you otherwise about this book, well, they just aren't right. The art, the story, the dialogue, they are all spot on in this book for this story. This is an 8.5 out of 10. Dark Knights of Steel Allwinter number 5. Yeah, is it 5?
I think so. I did not read this one.
Yes. Yeah, it's 5. 5 issues in. And I feel like I can officially say that Allwinter outshines the original story, and that original story was awesome. And the art scheme in Allwinter, it sells so much of that story. Every sliver of the story is also being told in the art and the colors. And if you aren't reading that, I mean it. If you are not reading this book, you are really missing out. It's 8.5 out of 10. Next up, we've got Jenny Sparks number 4. All right. When I was getting into this, I really didn't know what I was expecting at all. It wasn't what we got here. I didn't expect to like this, and here I am hating it. The art is really, really, really good, but that's all the good I can say about it. Again, because of the
Yeesh.
art, 6.5 out of 10. I don't like the way they did Jenny. I don't like the way that they're painting Captain Adam. And I really don't like the way everybody interacts with each other.
Well, that's why I'm not reading this book.
You are doing yourself a favor.
Jenny died on December 31st, 1999, and it will stay that way forever for me. Yeah,
Was
I'm
supposed to.
pretending this book does not exist.
Well, congratulations. In the same vein as Jenny Sparks, we've got Wonder Woman number 15, but lower because this is canon, not Elseworlds. Great art, awesome art, really crappy story, all 15 issues. This one is no different, 6 out of 10, again, largely owing to the art. And then finally, Milestone Universe, The Shadow Cabinet number 1. A long time ago, Brandon here actually suggested that this could be something that could be coming.
I knew it.
Yep. And there is so much in this issue. It really kicked this 4 issue mini off. There's a lot going on in here, and it's a good thing that it's got extra pages. I'm really looking forward to the next issue so we can find out more about what's going on and what will happen with the Blood Syndicate and everybody else. God, I love Milestone. 8.5 out of 10. And those are all the honorables worth mentioning.
Nice.
Did you get a chance to read any of them?
I only got a chance to read Batman and Robin Year One, and I have not yet read the Shadow Cabinet first issue. Just kind of want to save that one, but yeah, I knew that was coming. Once they did Blood Syndicate, I was like, it's only a matter of time. The question
Yeah.
was who was going to be on this new iteration of Shadow Cabinet, given that they only introduced about 3 or 4 members who were on the original team.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered if, like, the God, what was her name? Me, the quote unquote Shadow Cabinet fan, and I can't remember the names of them. I can remember exactly what they look like, but I can't remember their
Don't,
names.
don't feel bad.
Um,
I had to do a lot of Googling too.
ugh, I want to say one of them is called Blitzen, the one with super speed, but I know that's also a character from the Earth X. And then there's another character with wings who I'm blanking on. But I know they haven't been mentioned in any of the other Milestone series.
Yeah.
So I've wondered, like, are they going to put like Duo on the team, or or any of the new characters? But
Duo
it
would
was
be
Blitzen. Oh my
awesome.
God. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So I haven't completely forgotten everything.
Yeah, man. I hope we get Duo because I really enjoyed that book.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that book. That was cool. Um, yeah, I guess that. Oh, dude, pick up Full Moon. I think you will really enjoy it. I really,
Nice.
really
Yeah.
do. And then now, those are all the honorables worth mentioning.
Sweet.
Sweet indeed. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a brief break here, real quick. Come back and tackle the full issues.
All right. Okay. I need to find these names. It's shameful that I can't remember this.
It's blanking me out too, but
Uh,
I'm kind of used to forgetting shit. I have
hmm.
I do have to Google stuff. So don't feel bad.
Don. Oh, of course, should have known. Donner and Blitzen. How could I forget that?
I don't remember Donner. Not the
Yeah.
name.
Um, Blitzen I know had super speed. I don't remember if Donner also had super speed. And I mean, I'm not claiming to be an expert on the original Shadow Cabinet series. Honestly, my introduction to the team was Dwayne McDuffie did a run on the 2006 Justice League of America, and they had a crossover with Shadow Cabinet. And I remember like just grabbing those issues from like a dollar bin. I was like, who is Shadow? I mean, I recognize Hardware, an
Right.
icon, because I had the family friend that kind of got me into comics, like educated me on some of these characters. I was like, okay, I recognize a couple of them, but I'm like, who the hell is this team? Why are they fighting the Justice League? And then that was like, oh wow, I didn't realize they had their own super team in the Milestone universe. Um, so yeah, I just I tried to learn as much as I could, but I'm certainly no expert on the original 18 issue run of the team.
Well, we'll have to fix that.
It would be nice at one point. It would be really nice if DC would put out some very easy to collect, very easy to find collected editions of the Milestone series and not just the fucking compendiums that they've been putting out. Because it's one thing to
Right.
do that, but it's another to have like just have a book that's called Hardware, the deluxe edition or whatever, and it collects the first 18 issues and do like 4 of those and you probably finish out the whole series and then do that with Static and then do that with Icon and then, if those are doing well, you can do it with the rest of the universe, including like Zombie and Shadow Cabinet and everyone else and Blood Syndicate and
Blood
like I don't
Syndicate.
know if you want to if you want people to be aware of these characters and to be able to read the original series more easily, find a way to collect them that is more easy or
Right?
more easier to read. I don't know.
Make them accessible.
Yeah.
Holding that shit over our heads. Fucking jerks.
It would be very nice to be able to read them without, like having to scrounge online, to find it. I don't know. I'm just like, it feels like it's not that hard. You don't have to just like put everything together in one giant compendium and it's like, okay, here's the first 10 issues of Static and here's the first 10 issues of Icon and here's the first 10 issues of Hardware. It's like, but what if I just want to read them separately? Is
Right?
that too much to ask?
It's like you're forcing characters down my throat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not good for anybody. You know what is good for people though?
What's up?
Action comics.
Give me just 1 second. Sorry, I gotta send a message.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. Are we back? Did you finish the commercial break?
Oh yeah, we're definitely back.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. We're back.
Yay.
Hope you didn't miss us for too long.
We've been here the whole time.
We literally have not left. Um, so yeah, welcome back. I don't know. I don't have a good segue
I
into
do.
our first issue. Okay, take it away because this
Well,
is
this is
awkward.
this is you. Just do the blue scales real quick.
I wish I could. I'm still figuring that out. I only have the basic scales and weirdly enough the minor pentatonic scale, which I think I just learned because there was a song I liked. Anyway,
You learned of that before the basic blues scale?
I know.
What the
Well, I
fuck?
figure I'll get to that eventually.
Oh,
It's
blues
mostly just
scales
been
is
learning.
all the way from there.
Yeah, it's mostly just been learning chord shapes and making sure I have those down, and then practicing strumming patterns. So my wrist is a little more relaxed.
Right on. Making headway. How long have you been playing guitar?
It will be a year in January.
Oh, wow. Not very
Yeah.
long at all, then.
No, no. But I've always wanted to play. In another life, I would have done that over drums, but uh, I feel better late than never. So I can't shred yet, but one of these days I'll get there.
Channel your inner Eddie Van Halen.
I wish. If I could tap like that, man, I'd be set for life.
So would anybody else. But speaking of tapping, that's some heavy action on the fretboard.
Oh, it is. Except not really, because I'm not really doing anything. But speaking of action, why don't we see what our friend Superman is up to?
Up,
Is he our
up
friend?
and
I don't know.
away.
Action Comics 1076, written by Mark Waid with art from Clayton Henry and Michael Shelfer, colors from Matt Herms, and letters from Dave Sharp. This is part 7 of Phantoms, which sees us in the laboratory of one Zor-El, the brother of Jor-El, obviously, still trying to figure out exactly how they can charge Superman's solar bands, which Zor-El basically says, I had a converter that could have done the trick, but unfortunately it was seized by the Science Council, and that's when they're interrupted by yet another ground quake. And Clark is struggling with the fact that Krypton is tearing itself apart at every moment, and there's not a thing he can do about it. And carefully, he's trying to dodge any comments that he might accidentally make that could create a paradox by telling the people of the past too much information about the future that would, then basically make him cease to exist. But before Clark, alias Clark Ken, leaves, he asks Zor-El a question just about Krypton's core and how it's been destabilizing, and makes a comment that if he was willing to work with his brother, they might be able to do something. But that's when Zor-El snaps. Clearly, him bringing this up is a sore spot, and he throws Clark out, basically saying that Jor-El's crazy crackpot theories have been bringing shame on the L name, and he won't have anything to do with it, and throws a lot of them out, angry that they would even suggest a thing. Meanwhile, Connor and Keenan are in space, is what Rob wanted me to do by special request, tribute to Community. So, Rob, if you're listening, I did it. You can clip that audio if you want. Meanwhile,
Rob, he literally just said it.
I just said it. I just said it. It happened. So you should be grateful. No. So Connor and Keenan are in space, as mentioned, where Connor is about to challenge the Kund commander for his leadership, while Keenan is basically being chucked out because he doesn't have a ticket, and all of that stuff. And they're calling him a cheater, saying he's going to, help Connor cheat and steal his way into leadership. Um, but as they toss him into the fire pits and are getting ready to dispose of him, Keenan manages to escape, gets back up, but sees that the Coons have a new super over admiral, or just over admiral, as he as the title officially is. Now he's calling himself the super over admiral. Is
Right.
none other than Connor Kent, who has managed to win his way in the murder pit, and is now the leader of the Coons. Back on Krypton, Clark is sneaking into exactly. Clark manages to sneak into the, I guess, like the secret archive of Kryptonian technology, and manages to take down the guards in the process. also finding his solar bands as well as the converter that Zor-El had built before he's caught by Zor-El, literally in the middle of the crime, as Zor-El had suspicions that he was going to be involved in this, and you know, let the guards know that there might be some activity at the archive. But Superman manages to get ahead of them, and even though he still has a little bit of his residual powers that are coursing through him, courtesy of the solar bands, he still is a little under his normal power set, and all of his powers are not quite back, including his freeze breath and his invulnerability. So he has to fight using his normal fighting skills. Zor lunges after him, but Clark manages to get the upper hand before what was his name? The guy from the Kryptonian Science Council. I'm blanking on his name right now. It's like something
It's
Vox.
Roseanne.
Roseanne. Okay.
I was muted. I'm sitting here trying to tell it
ah,
to you.
Yeah. No, I was like, I just can't remember all these Kryptonian names. Oh, and he literally says it in the panel. My God, I'm brain dead. But Roseanne manages to catch him, and Clark kind of tries to reason with him, saying that like, you know, I understand that you're a bit of a proud man and you're more concerned with your legacy than other things, but it's more important that, you know, if you continue to like restrict all the free thought that that Kryptonian scientists are trying to push for, your legacy will be tainted. But unfortunately, as Clark is making his plea, he gets shot in the back by the guards. But the converter, thankfully, has done its job and restored all of the solar power to his bands. So he's able to fly back to the wormhole, but not before one last wistful look at Krypton, thinking about his time there and how he wished he could tell his parents about the impending doom that they're going to face. But unfortunately, as he knows, he can't risk that. So he flies into the vortex, makes his way back to the Phantom Zone, only to find that the Phantom Zone is apparently destroying itself. And that's where our main story ends. But continues a little bit in the Supergirl backup, written by Mariko Tamaki, with art from Megan Hetrick, colors by Marissa Louise, and letters from Becca Carey. Where Supergirl is basically just trying to find out more about this mysterious destroyer of worlds that she's been asked to transport. And apparently, according to the robot, the only thing that was found, you know, at the ruins of the planet's destruction was her body. So it was just presumed that she was the one responsible for the destruction of worlds. But she asks more questions to kind of find out about it, finds out that they destroyed 157 worlds, and kind of is feeling a little bit more cautious about transporting this prisoner. But that's when the prisoner wakes up, tries to make their way to the front of the ship and take control. Not before Supergirl is able to subdue her, and then looking into her face, kind of like a moment of confusion where it looks like she's seeing old memories of planet's destruction or something like that, before just kind of being overwhelmed by all that she's seen. And the prisoner asks that Supergirl kill her. So yeah, that is Action Comics 1076. Quite a bit this week. Honestly, might be my favorite issue of this like Krypton segment so far. I mean, we've had moments of like getting to know Clark's parents and all that stuff was great, and seeing all the inner workings of Krypton and getting a little bit more clarity on, you know, Jor-El's role in Krypton's scientific developments. But I really love the moment where, like, you know, Clark is confronted with the fact that he could change this, and he really wants to be able to tell his parents all that's going to happen and maybe try and help Krypton save itself, but he knows he can't because it would thereby delete him from existence, and he's not willing to make that sacrifice. So that whole moment where he has to fly off back to the portal and into the Phantom Zone was really heartbreaking. And then the backup again continues the mystery. I think this one, as I said last week, will be much better once it's a completed story and you'll have kind of full context for everything. But for now, it very much just feels like The mystery is ongoing. Just strap in and enjoy the ride, and it'll all make sense at the end. So I gave the whole issue 8.5 out of 10. I enjoyed the main story a little bit more, the backup this time around, but backup is still pretty good. So good stuff all around.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. As far as the main story goes, it's just gotten better and better with every issue. It's really good. Wade's got me totally hooked into this, and
Oh
the
yeah,
art is half of that. The dilemma of the Phantom Zone being created by Jor-El, and then that whole problem conflict. Uh, it's been resolved, and I think that's really cool. Now to see what's going to happen with the Phantom Zone itself, if there still will be one, if it will be turned into a habitable place, or if it's going to be destroyed, and whether or not Clark can stay powered up long enough to fix everything.
we
Uh,
shall see.
right? The art is picture perfect, of course, and again, like I said, story is just great. As far as the Supergirl one goes, this issue turned the story from mystery to downright super heavy. I mean, what a development! I'm driving myself crazy right now trying to figure out who this might be. It it really seems as though this is definitely someone from Supergirl's past. There's clues in the story that are pointing toward that. Um, if not a person from Supergirl's past, then a situation, perhaps, but something it has got Kara attached to this for whatever reason. Both parts of the issue are phenomenal. Very little to complain about. I'm actually going to give this an 8.75 out of 10.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know. I graded higher than you. What in the
And
hell is going on?
apparently, what the hell is going on? Apparently, Rod gives it a 3.14 out of 5. So there you go. We
Yeah,
all love it.
3.14 out of 5. I think he's just talking about
Love it.
pie. All right. Well, we will go ahead now and change the page and the character from Superman to Superman and Batman
Whoa.
and some others. um, This one is also written by Mark Wade, art from Adrian Gutierrez, colors from Matt Herms, and lettering by Steve Wands, with a cover from the incomparable Dan Mora. The arc is called Shadows Fall, and boy, do they ever. So let's kick the issue off with a quick recap. Eclipso is back, he's taken over the heroes, and they keep fighting to defeat him, even though it looks undoable. There, you are all caught up. Dr. Bennett and Robin Logan as the Justice League are trapped inside of a diamond that Eclipso created, as we saw in the last issue. Thankfully, Batman is always prepared and had Dr. Fate arrange an amulet that could undo Eclipso's magic, causing the diamond. So they break out of the diamond and they begin to hunt down Eclipso in an effort to control all of the satellites and then indeed all of the people. Eclipso breaks into, or I guess rather shows up at, the US satellite control network and takes control of half of the army, making them fight the other half. The heroes show up, and it's not an easy job. There's Eclipso to deal with, this huge army, and major disasters happening all over the world, all thanks to Eclipso. All over. In the Atlantic Ocean, Chicago, the Republic of Mustan, Coast City, and more, all heroes, Justice League, and Justice Society of America are fighting like crazy to win and keep control. As the team begins to win at the satellite control, Eclipso takes over the JSA. Uh, After a few barbs that were pretty good, they realize they've got some experience and are able to eventually fight his influence off. but not before actually fighting with the Justice League. It was quick, but it was fun. With a little bit of mind games from Batman and some of Superman's powers, they enact a plan with Dr. Fate to overload him and knock Eclipso out. While he's unconscious, Superman gathers all the pieces of the black diamond together and then, with his hand, compresses them to reform the diamond. They transfer Eclipso into his prison once more, and to make sure that they don't have to deal with him again. Oops, damn it. I have not been changing covers.
Oh crap! I didn't even notice.
Yeah, me either. There's world's finest.
There we go.
All right. Where did I leave off at? They enact a plan with Dr. Fate to overload
Yes.
him and knock Eclipso out. While he's unconscious, Superman gathers up all the pieces of the black diamond together and compresses them with his hand to reform the diamond. They transfer Eclipso into the prison once more, and to make sure that they don't have to deal with him again, the diamond is given to Spectre, who promptly throws it into the sun. Then the JSA and Justice League part ways with a few different compliments being thrown around to each other. And we're giving a bit of a surprise for next issue with the caption that reads, Next, the Batgirl Olsen Crypto Bat Hound team. So, new people, new stories, and dogs. Hopefully, it will be just as great of a time as this arc has been.
Hopefully.
Damn, Gutierrez draws pretty. Like, so pretty. And the colors just work. They look so good together. The story's good, obviously. It wrapped everything all up with an acceptable ending. The characters all did well, were voiced well. It dealt with a little conflict. And again, the art was spot on. I had a really good time with this one. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Nice. Same here. 8 out of 10. Adrian Gutierrez really is the star in this issue, especially the renderings of the Justice Society, which I love. That last panel of like, you know, you guys, we had our time, but like it's time for you guys to carry the torch, step it up. But we'll be here. Just great stuff. So 8 out of 10 for me. Super fun. And great to see just more team ups with the Justice Society. Like that was such a regular thing in the past, and obviously that kind of changed when they were lost in time and weren't in continuity anymore. But I'm glad we can have stories like this again, where it's just like, yeah, the Justice Society and Batman and Superman are going to team up and they're going to fight Eclipso. Fuck yeah, let's go. So
Let's
more of this,
go.
please.
Yeah, I agree. It was just a great time without having to be something like death metal
Yeah,
to have them all together.
agreed.
Agreed. It is nice to have the Justice League and the Justice Society of America together, as they are the titans of the comic industry. And
Well, speaking of Titans, I don't know if they're having quite as good of a time as the Justice Society was taking down Eclipso, but we'll see. This is Titans number 17, written by Mr. John Layman with art from Pete Woods, art and colors from Pete Woods, and letters from Wes Abbott. Our issue opens with a little bit of backstory on the Clock King, establishing who he is, not as a fighter, but his whole shtick is that he's a master of time. Well, not controlling time, but he's a master planner, a master strategist, and has an understanding of time and how time unfolds that makes him invaluable to certain situations. But we're just getting caught up to date with Clock King after his time serving on Amanda Waller's Suicide Squad and after the events of Absolute Power, where he quickly discovered that he had something growing in his hippocampus, some kind of strange growth that was giving him powers of a kind, but at the same time clearly is killing him. What are those powers, you ask? Well, it's manipulating his perception of time, which allows him to manipulate others' perceptions of time as well, particularly the Titans, which, after we saw in last month's cliffhanger, he had managed to get the upper hand on most of the Titans except for Donna. But now, as we see, all of the Titans are under his control, and he will be able to sift through their memories as he's plugged them into his machine and everything, and use them to find out exactly what makes all of them tick. Arsenal is basically saying, like, he's not going to get away with this and that sort of thing. But that's when Clock King reveals that Arsenal was kind of the key to all of this, and it was his traumatic memories that allowed a bridge to form to gain access to the rest of the Titans' memories and manipulate their perception of time, which he then tries to do to maximum effect as they're all plugged into this machine, going back and manipulating all of their memories in order to get inside their minds and get access to their memories. And we see him, basically going through multiple different memories of the Titans, Cyborg and Starfire and Beast Boy, kind of trying to manipulate how things happened. But it's clear that some of them are not buying it, and even though some are buying it, there's still a little bit of resistance that they have, particularly with Donna Troy, as Clock King tries to rewind to the point just before she was taken down. And even while he's done this multiple times, and is trying to manipulate everything, Donna, I guess, his resistance is just so powerful, that she's able to kind of overcome that and has enough resolve in her position as a leader, that she is able to overcome Clock King's influence, and come back to a shared memory to which all of the Titans could access, which now has freed them from the memories that they were going through, the more traumatic memories that they were going through, and has completely subverted the Clock King's plans. And now the Titans can attack, not having to worry about everything. But unfortunately, Clock King escapes before they can give him a proper beatdown, and manages to get away. And shortly after, Nightwing basically just gives Donna the reassurance that her position as a leader is going to be great. She handled the situation very well, and she's going to make an excellent leader. We cut over to Noonan's sleazy bar during our epilogue, where the Clock King is lamenting the fact that he nearly had the Titans, but failed at the last minute. And that's when a mysterious voice reveals that things might go a little bit better if he was able to work together with a group of like-minded people who might be able to properly take the Titans down. And that's when the mysterious voice steps out of the shadows and reveals that it's none other than Deathstroke, apparently back from the tank that he was in at the end of Dark Crisis. Wonder how that's going to be explained. But yeah, Deathstroke back in the Titans. Who would have thought it was going to happen this year? Not me. Except, yeah, I totally did. I figured he was going to be back eventually.
None of the shit that happened mattered.
Yeah. But I do have a theory, that, and it could be totally wrong, but this may not be Slade Wilson. It is Deathstroke, but it may not be Slade Wilson, because we haven't seen his face yet. So I was thinking, because maybe not Grant, but it could be just someone, someone with connections to Deathstroke that wants to continue his mission while Slade is still under wraps at the Justice League headquarters.
I hope it's Grant.
Yeah. I mean, Grant is very dead, but crazier things have happened.
Because things have changed ever since Infinite Frontier, and just because we haven't seen them, I don't think that he's been mentioned at all, right?
No, but he's been dead for like 34 years, so he's never come back, except for that one time when Deathstroke was kind of trying to save his life, but he kept failing. So yeah, I would be surprised if they did that. But I guess nothing's impossible. As for impossible.
They brought back Roy. They brought back Barry.
Yeah, I suppose. But as for this issue, no, another solid entry into the Titans. Definitely excuse me, enjoyed this one a little bit more than the last issue because it really felt like we got to see the Titans in proper action, which was really cool. Um, and just looking forward to what adventures they have next. What's next in store for the Titans? The only thing I'll say, and maybe I'm out of line, but it just feels like I don't know. It maybe what the Titans are going through right now is a little low stakes because it felt like they were, they've been hyped up so much as basically being like the new premier team in the DCU, and that's basically how this run started. But now it just kind of feels like what with the Justice League returning and all this stuff coming back, they've kind of been pushed not necessarily to the back burner, but like they're no longer at the
Off to the
forefront as they
side for
were
sure.
promised to
Yeah.
be. And now they're like, yeah, they're fighting Clock King. So I know that every one of the Titans also has Justice League membership, but I'm talking the Titans as an entity maybe doesn't feel as important as it did a year ago. So
Right. And
I'm still wondering how I feel about that.
I feel like it was pushed. I feel like the Titans were pushed, and Nightwing especially as being basically, let's say, the new face of DC in continuity. And
Mm,
I feel like we never really got to experience that, and that was
yeah.
a real bummer. I do hope that we do see them in much larger roles, and I'm hoping that this one and done with Clock King was just to kind of have a single issue that will show what kind of stuff it is that they are going up against.
Mm.
Um, I feel as though we're getting uh, foreshadowing about a new um, League of Supervillains.
Yeah, I could
And
see that.
that could be very fun with the Titans. Take them into that role that we're hoping to see them in. Altogether, I think this was a pretty cool story. Starts to dip into villains and the powers that are around now after Waller's absolute blunder, which
Mm.
is something I'm glad to see happening. It's sure to shake things up in the villain world, and the comics world could use that. Now, with Deathstroke entering the picture, who may or may not be Slade Wilson, Brandon has a
We'll
very
see.
valid point. Uh, it sounds like he's looking to start up a whole team rather than just pair with Clock King. I'm down with that. Uh, this can't be anything but good coming around the corner as far as I'm concerned. My fingers are crossed, anyways. I
Mm.
enjoyed this for the little one shot that it was. Um, I like what's going on art wise in this book, only a few issues here and there. And I honestly didn't like the way Deathstroke looked in the last panel, but that was just one panel.
Mm.
We'll see where this goes, but until then, this issue gets an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
I was trying to be, and I think I was successful.
Yeah. I don't know if I gave my score. I kind of already gave my review. But this one I also gave an 8 out of 10. I do like Pete Wood's art. I think because I mean he's been around for a while,
Hmm.
and it's crazy to see how much his stuff has improved since like I mean, maybe you can remember this more than I can, but like, when I think of Pete Woods, I always think of Robin. He was doing the post NML like art for Robin for quite a while. And that stuff is good, but it's definitely, it feels like it's still developing. And if you look at that stuff compared to what he's doing today, like you can see the resemblance, but it's clear he's improved a lot. And I see that. So there's some panels that look great, especially now that he's coloring his own stuff, but there is still some stuff that like I agree I'm not in love with. I do actually like the design that they have for Deathstroke. It is a little much, but it doesn't bother me too much. But some of the faces are maybe just a little too jagged for my taste. But on the whole, the art is really stellar throughout the issue. So it's only like minor stuff. Um, so yeah, 8 out of 10 for me.
Well, I definitely can't disagree with you too much there. Let's see. I've got things a little discombobulated. All right. Not quite as smooth as I would have hoped, but Um, Catwoman, number 70, written by Torin Grombeck with art by Fabiana Mascolo, colors Patricio De Peche, letters by Steve Wands, and the cover from Siba Fiumara. I think I said that right. In a
Sounds right.
in okay. In quite the complicated story, the summary seems to be rather quick and easy. For a quick recap, Selena is in Germany trying to figure out uh, why one of her old secret identities has been reported dead. It turns out that's because there's people that want her dead, specifically an organized crime family that's put out an open call hit on Selena, except it's Evie. And Selena is there as Evie, the identity that was murdered, and meets with an old crew member that was also nearly killed, as many in Selena's old crew have been. It seems that there is trouble in the crime family, the Belovs. Belovs. And it seems as if there always has been, as there are three sons that are trying to break into their deceased father's safe, which holds information on everyone that he's ever worked with, as well as a big fortune. Selena doesn't know exactly how her friend Susie Sinner fits into all of this, but she knows that people definitely want her dead herself. And now we get to watch Selena fight back against a crime family. A German one though, not in Gotham. So it's totally different. Okay, the cover first. I'm not a fan of writing on covers, but this one is acceptable. The gist of the cover is she's got many identities, but only one comes into play in this story, and I really, really like that cover. It's pretty damn cool. The story itself is pretty interesting, but I need more to fall in love with it. Not a lot of issues so far. It's just a slow build up to where this is actually going, even though we pretty much know the gist of the plot, need more. I enjoyed the art here. Both lines and colors look really good. As this issue stands, I'll give it a 7.75 out of 10.
I will give this a. I did not get a chance to read it this week out of 10. I'm so sorry. I did not get a chance to get into this one, but
Oh
I
my
do like the
god.
cover. It is certainly striking.
It happens to the best of us. If
I
I
hadn't
ask
been
you
wasting time playing in this fucking guitar. Maybe I would have read the issue. Or maybe I wouldn't have
speaking
forgotten.
speaking of guitars,
Uh,
I have a question for you, Brand.
what's up?
Who did it better, Hendrix or Dylan?
Oh God, I knew you were gonna ask that question. Okay, I love Bob Dylan. I do. Um, like freewheeling Bob Dylan is like one of my top tens. But I gotta be honest. I love the Hendrix version more, and I know you don't like Jimi Hendrix, for which I still cannot comprehend in
It's
my
not that I don't
mind.
like him. He's got great music and he's a good guitar player. I just don't think
Hmm.
that he deserves the accolades that have been given
I could not disagree more, but this will be
him.
one
You
of
and
those
everyone else on the planet.
agree to disagree moments. But I gotta say, for as much as I love the kind of folksy take, I mean, he wrote the song, so I don't know why I'm saying like it's something he borrowed. For as much as I love the folksy version that Dylan does, I just the Hendrix one is like it's so iconic and it's so much energy.
It
But
definitely does have a lot
maybe
of energy.
maybe there's a better version of All Along the Watchtower that we can get into.
There you go.
Although I'm sorry to disappoint anyone who's expecting Renee to play guitar in this issue. She does not. She does not shred.
No, not even a little bit.
Not even a
Unless
little
you're
bit. I'm sorry.
unless you're talking people's feelings.
Yeah. Unless you're talking about shredding her self-esteem.
Right.
Um, but yes, this is the question all along the Watchtower. Written by Alex Segura with art from Kai and Torme. That's the second time I've had to sing during this show. It's not going to happen again.
I wasn't going to say nothing, but
yeah. Colors by Romulo Fajardo and letters from Willie Schubert. This one's going to be pretty quick, mostly because this issue is primarily set up, but basically sees Renee settling into her new role as what she calls the sheriff of the Watchtower, basically a role that was propositioned to her, offered to her formally by Superman, to which she basically said what anyone would say, how could you possibly say no? So Superman, along with Wonder Woman and Batman, are aware that this new experiment, I mean, it's not like they haven't had Watchtowers before, but I think they're aware of the fact that there have been security risks on the Watchtower many, many times before, and having someone like Renee can mitigate that.
Especially considering Wonder Woman tells us that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of heroes in the Watchtower at any
exactly time. Yeah. But more relevant to this particular issue, there's clearly, Superman believes at least, there's clearly someone trying to infiltrate the Watchtower. There's someone trying to get inside to weaponize it, aware of the power that is behind it. So the issue just kind of sees Renee trying to get to the bottom of it while also establishing her new security team, as she'll be working alongside the Blue Beetles. Yes, you heard me right. Beetles, plural, because she's working with Ted Kord and Jaime Reyes, which I was like, yeah, I'm glad Jaime gets to do something kind of nice, you know? I'm glad that all the
Blue Beetle-y.
Yeah, something Blue Beetle-y.
And I mean, let's face it, for a kid, the guy, he runs into a lot of bad situations.
Yeah. It's really quite unfortunate. But has a couple of other meetings with other people on the Watchtower, including Animal Man and one of the challengers, Ken Kawa, as well as Kate Kane, a.k.a. Batwoman, a.k.a., as she puts it, fellow Gothamite, also a vigilante, but most relevant and most awkwardly her ex. So naturally that makes things a little bit crazy. But before they can even begin to unpack all of that, who should try and make their move in the Watchtower just as she's trying to settle in, but Mr. Kenny Braverman, a.k.a. Conduit, or is it Kenny Braverman? I guess we'll have to find out in the rest of this issue. Because the question is able to get the upper hand on Braverman and shut him down with a pulse, just as he is basically trying to take out all the other heroes, but not really paying attention to the question. And that's when Renee is able to get in a shot, shutting down Conduit before popping off the mask and revealing that this Conduit, at least, is not Kenny Braverman, but appears to be an android, which leads to something much, much worse. And that's when we cut to more monologues from Renee, basically saying how this whole thing is a distraction, and it's clear that this is all just a preamble to the plan that, you know, this mysterious person who's trying to infiltrate the Watchtower has. This is like the first shot, basically, before they start making their way to properly getting control of the Watchtower, as we cut to the dead body of Ken Kawa lying on the floor somewhere in the Watchtower, and someone's mysterious boots, who look very similar to Batwoman's, standing in the background.
Dun, dun, dun.
This was awesome. I like, okay, obviously I'm a sucker for the question, sucker for Renee Montoya. This is already right up my alley, but like murder mystery on the Watchtower featuring Renee Montoya, like that's just such a killer concept. How could you not love that? So yeah, if it's not clear from the tone of my voice, I was super stoked going into this, and I was super stoked coming out of it. Art is great, but in particular for me, I think you'll feel the same. The voice that Segura has for Renee, perfect. Like just the way you'd imagine, you know, Greg Rucka or anyone else who's worked on Renee doing this voice. It was exactly what I expected.
Mhm.
And I also like the fact that Renee is not super gung ho about like basically being the sheriff of the Watchtower. She still has some trepidations over it, and rightfully so, because her role as the question is to naturally question. Like, yeah, I've been invited up here, but for what reason? Like, what are the ulterior motives involved in all of this? So I had a lot of fun with this one. Great art, great mystery. I'm super excited to see where this one goes. I'm just kind of bummed it's only a mini series, but I do hope there's more for the question after this miniseries wraps up. So 8.75 out of 10 for me.
You and me both, as far as that goes. It is a mini series, but we've seen mini series stretched out before. Fingers crossed that that happens here as well. Um, I really like this. Just getting the art out of the way, it feels right for a mystery book, but a mystery book with lots of action. It's not too dark, but it's also not bright and shiny. Hey, 14-year-old, come by me. This is perfect. I really enjoyed it throughout the entire issue. Barely anything that really bothered me with the art at all. Seeing the roles employed by certain people to help the question out was also pretty cool, and a pretty good cast together to do just that. When they put this together, they really, really put some thought into it, and the story itself is great. Exploring the question, her past, her current status as a superhero police force, um, and her relationship with Kate that may not be as maybe even worse than we thought. It's the whole 9 yards. It feels good to read this,
And you
and
thought
that
things were awkward between Maggie Sawyer and Kate. Oh boy.
right. Ain't that the truth? Um, no, it does. It feels good to read this comic, and that is what I want from a comic book. It tells me
Yes.
it was done right. I give this an 8.75 out of 10.
Awesome.
Um,
Wow, we're
no,
like
I
mostly in
am.
agreement this week. This is weird.
Yeah, it feels wrong,
Feels
right?
wrong. Let's review
And
Wonder Woman and argue.
you do not want to do that. Have
Yeah.
you read it yet?
I have not read it, and I really don't want to. I'm not gonna
Don't.
lie.
Don't. Um, well shit. You know what? I'm yeah, I'm bumping my final score for the question up to a 9.
Whoa.
I loved it
Always gotta
that
outdo me,
much.
huh?
No, not usually.
Nah, I'm just
Usually it's
kidding.
underdo you
Yeah.
by far.
No. I'm just glad that this was such a great book.
Oh, you and me both, man. You and me both. And I mean, it's a question book for anybody. You do
Yeah.
not need to be a major question fan like you did
No.
for the many deaths of Vic Sage. This is top notch stuff, man. Just top
Mm.
notch stuff. Well, that is all of the books this week. Without Rob here, we sure do get this done fast, don't we?
See, it's Rob who always distracts us. You hear
Yeah,
that, Rob?
it's Rob's
I'm
fault.
kidding.
But with that noted and the books reviewed, let's go ahead and get into our top three, if you don't mind. What do you think, Brandon? What was
My
your top three and favorite?
pleasure. This week, top three I had at number three, Action Comics. At number two, Batman and Robin Year One, or excuse me, Year One, number two. That was going to trip me up. But number one definitely has to go to the question all on the Watchtower. Just such a phenomenal first issue.
We're pretty damn close here as well, although I usually don't put honorable mentions in my top three. Unless I have no choice. But in third place, we've got Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 33. Second place is Action Comics 1076. And before I move on to first, which is obvious, let me just say I have been a Mark Waid fan my entire life. And for the first part of Shazam and for a large first part of World's
You
Finest,
were not a
I
fan.
did not like it, and I am glad to be able to put Mark Waid in my top three twice this week. And then, of course, with the updated score, it didn't even need it, but here it is. In first place, the question all along the Watchtower.
Well, I feel like you were kind of a God. What is it's you were like a sign graph in terms of Mark Wade's DC career. Because I remember when we first started doing World's Finest, you really liked that first arc. I was kind of iffy on it. I was like, I don't know, it's fun, but it's feels kind of standard. And then it was like after that, everything started to go down, 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 and now it's starting to come back up again.
Yeah,
So I'm glad
yeah,
you can enjoy it.
definitely a sign graph. Brandon is a math nerd.
I wish. I wish I had been a math nerd. I probably would have had, I don't know, an easier time in calculus or something.
Oof, calculus.
But I
I
always,
feel
I
like
always remember
calculus and
that.
trig should be vulgar words.
Oh God, yeah, trigonometry is like a trigger word for me because that
You can say
class
that again.
was evil.
My dad, who he adopted me, so I
Mhm,
don't have any blood relation to him
yeah.
in order to inherit this, but he
Mhm.
can do basic trigonometry in his head.
What the fuck?
I'm fucking saying, dude.
That's like
I
a
mean,
skill I wish I had had, man.
yep, I know, right? It sure served him well. He was a
Mhm.
prototype tool and die guy,
Oh
so
wow.
definitely came in handy. But
Yeah.
man, tell me, it's and the worst part about it is he could do trig in his head, but he wouldn't help me with my algebra homework.
Oh, that's
He was
just selfish.
always super busy. But all right, those
That's
were my top three.
all
My
right.
favorite moment. I was trying to come up with one that was unique this week.
Mm.
Uh, I'm gonna go into the Connor Kanan section of Action Comics to make this happen. Um, it's a two-parter. It's when Connor returns from whooping Kundas and he's wearing the overcoat. The
That was
the
pretty cool.
smugness of Connor there, that was great. And then the fact that in my head I heard Kund Booyah after
Of course you did.
Kund Booyah. Yeah, it was Connor. It just popped into my head out of nowhere,
Uh,
and that made it my favorite moment this week.
man. My favorite moment probably has to come from a book we did not talk about, but one that did make it to my top three, being Batman and Robin Year One. Honestly, you
Oh,
could go with
so
any
good.
of the interactions between Bruce and Dick in that issue, but
Hmm.
in particular, there's like towards the beginning, there's a double page spread of Alfred firing off like a machine gun, and Dick is like kind of dodging through it, and it is just so well structured. Like
Yes.
I'd give anything to have that on my wall, just wordless. Not that the words were bad or anything, but just like that whole sequence was great. Many of the sequences in that book are great, but that was probably my favorite.
It's done so well. Such a good book.
Yes.
Everybody should be reading it so we get more books like that. If they're
Although
going to be Batman books, have them be great Batman books.
I gotta say, Mister, you got some splaining to do because
Uh-oh.
you have been adamant about the fact that Dick Grayson is not Robin, which is
Uh-oh.
true, but at the same time, he certainly was Robin, and
He
that could
was.
not be more accurately demonstrated in this book.
Not
So
even, yeah, I'm not,
I
I'm
need
not,
I need some splaining from you, sir.
I can't explain it in this book because holy cow, this is OG Batman and Robin, and it's done right.
Okay. Well, that feels
So
like kind of a cop out, but whatever.
I'm being honest. I can't defend my point of view with this book in play. It just really, really kills my point of view.
All right then.
So I'll have to give that one to you.
Mhm.
I'll forget this though, and then I'll keep my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Uh,
All right. Well, I guess that wraps things up for this week. Let me give you a forecast for next week. It's a big one.
whew, man. I'm scared.
Detective Comics 1091, Nightwing 120, Absolute Wonder Woman number 2, Superman number 20, Action Comics 1077, Green Arrow 18, The Flash 15, Harley Quinn 45,
Ooh.
and then 2 new books we've all been waiting for, Black Canary Best of the Best number 1 and Justice League Unlimited number 1. Plus, we've also got Batman the Long Halloween, The Last Halloween number 3, Batman the Brave and the Bold number 19, Power Girl number 15, which is an awesome series, y'all. And Batman Santa Claus, The Silent Night Returns, and Multiverses Collision Detected, the final issue of that series. Coming out, we also have for $10 Batman the Cult in trade paperback. I
Is
think
that
we'll go grab that up.
Is that like the mini one? It's got to be, right?
I don't think so.
Huh.
It didn't say anything about being a miniature.
That seems much cheaper than it should be. But
well, it's what, 4 issues?
Yeah, but they're all prestige format, so they're like over 50 pages.
Yeah, it won't be the same. I imagine it's going to be regular size. I'm looking. I don't see anything saying that it's going to be abridged or mini at all.
This is yeah, the one that comes out on the 26th.
Yeah.
Okay, because I see one here from Penguin Random House that says $19.99, which seems like it makes more sense, but
I'm double checking it real quick. I see, yeah, Batman. Oh no, I did write it down wrong. It's $20, not $20.
I was like
I
$9.99. Man, I wish.
like I will grab that up.
Yeah, I mean, I already have it, but that would have been cool to get it for $10.
Hell yeah.
Man, you know what I wish they would do? They've been sitting on this for years, but like if they could just put together like a complete collection, a compendium even of Jim Starlin's Batman, including the Colt, oh, I'd be set. I would ditch all of the floppies I have like yesterday. Not that I dislike having them, but it would be nice to have them all because it's so. We can talk about this elsewhere, but it's that whole run has been collected in the worst way possible, which is like they have a big chunk of the run collected in, I think it's Batman the Caped Crusader, like volume 1 or something.
Yeah,
and
but
then
it's not the whole run.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like they have the a chunk of that run like right up to Death of the Family, but that's not collected either. And then it skips ahead to the epilogue issue that he does. I think it's like 430 or 431, and then 2 issues that Christopher Priest did, and then that's it. But if you want to read like the entirety of his run, you have to get like I think issue 414 to it might be 419, might be collected elsewhere. I don't remember. But I have those in floppies because I couldn't find the collected edition. So if you want to read like 420 to 425 or something, you have to get Batman the Caped Crusader, Volume 1, then get The Cult, then get Death of the Family, then go back to the Caped Crusader and read issue 430, and then you're done with the run. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Just put it all in. Like why do that? Why do that? Why didn't they just? Anyway, so I've just been like for years. I'm like just slap together a book, call it Batman by Jim Starlin, the deluxe edition. Just put everything together in order, and then we're done. And call it a day. Because like it would be nice to be able to read all that stuff without jumping between books, but DC does not like convenience. And I'm like, I will give you money. I will give you the money to do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Please.
Coming up, we also have DC Finest, The Flash, The Human Thunderbolt for $40, the JSA Compendium Volume 1 in trade paperback for $60. A really weirdly titled one, Superman the Exile and Other Stories Omnibus. That's $125.
Mhm.
And then we've got two black labels that are coming out that I want to get myself. The Witching Hour from Jeff Loeb and Joe the Barbarian from Grant Morrison. Those are both $20 a piece.
Oh yeah, interesting. They're doing a new printing of Joe the Barbarian. I wonder why.
Right? There's got to be a reason for it.
Mhm.
$20. It's worth the pickup. All
Yeah,
right, that
yeah.
is it, everybody. Thank you all for watching and or listening. We will be back next week covering all of DC's weekly releases. Same geek time, same geek channel. And that's the show. We're getting out of here, so you'll have to as well. Get out. Be careful
Get
out
out.
there. And remember, in the Geek Matrix, everybody has a home. In the Geek Matrix, you are not alone.
Peace out.
Rob?